Good evening, and yeah, I only play ESO very casually. Am I going to be serious like WoW, Trials and Hard Mode? No, I actually wouldn't like to. I always say I think ESO is a very good game for a casual. I mean, I can't actually spend the time playing any game competitively at the moment, and I don't foresee that changing either. But if I could, it would not be ESO. I wouldn't like to play this competitively. Ultimately, I mean, one of the main things I really dislike quite intensely about it is the concept of animation cancelling, actually embracing it as a part of how to play it. I'm just about alright with the concept of having, your two weapons and you have some skills on some bar and you go in with those, and even though they're very short duration, and switch between the two bars, that's sort of okay. Even that I don't like doing too much, but as a casual player you don't have to do it too much. But yeah, I mean, one thing when in like Warhammer Online, I did play Warhammer Online competitively, like for the PvP, and one class there that I really didn't get on with, even though I used it a fair bit, was the Chaos Warrior. And one reason was because it had an aura. You had a choice of auras. You could put the aura on, but when you changed to a different aura compared to the one you had, the previous aura would stay on for 8 seconds. And there was like 3 seconds before you were allowed to press another aura. So you can see how it worked. You would cycle auras and you could actually maintain 3 at one time. But it basically meant cycling through buttons. And it's the sort of thing that I just consider degenerate gameplay. Right, we've got a book straight off the bat. Oh, let's go and nick his cell first. Still with... not effectively, no, because what ends up happening, I'm playing this a bit, obviously, and getting ready for Greymore coming out in a few months. And... so I've got this character, just, because the only character... When the game first came out, I was playing it. I mean... so you could look at it from that point of view and say, oh, I've played the game for years, I must have loads of it. No, I play it for a bit and then I go off and not play it for a bit, whether it's playing something else or whatever, and then come back. So sometimes I'll look at various things, but then by the time you've gone away for a year and come back again, then you've forgotten everything anyway. So I sometimes try a little bit, but I've not learnt to do it effectively. Supposed to go there. I'm just going to wander around here actually first and do some delves, because the way I normally do this when I come into the new zone is I do the main quest lines and then I just go around everywhere else getting all the sky shards and lore books and ignoring, although that's near a delve. Is that related to the delve? Hold on. I'm not doing... Oh, maybe. I'm trying to avoid doing side quests, because I'm really just trying to do the main quest lines. But what happens in this one as well, and my like champion level's quite low, really, because what happened, I keep leveling. I keep getting characters and leveling them up and then getting bored of them, and I just spend all my time just leveling characters and not actually going out and getting champion points. So I'm going to try and spend a little bit of time. I am really hoping that, because that's near a delve, that this quest is ultimately for the delve. Yeah, I'm going to spend a little bit of time on this, just doing through the main quest lines, getting some more champion points. And then we'll see, I'll probably have time to do another Character to 50 as well. So yeah, what CP I have is 328. It's not very much. As I say, I don't do very much on level capped characters.
Is my nose?
But I'm hoping, because there is the stamina template I want to level up as well. And there's a few that I might be interested in as well. So I've got a Magicka Templar and I've got a Stamina Necro now, which I'm very happy with. Stamina Templar as well, potentially next. But not too quickly. I think I'll... it's not in the Delve. But what zones have I been through? So I've just finished East March on this character, so this is now the Rift. Alright, I'll do one side quest. To hell with it. Not before nicking all the stuff in the barrels. Because when Elsewhere came out, I did actually create a Necromancer. And I just made it... Oh, it's one of these things. I just made it a Magicka one and just, you know... I just didn't get on with it. So I thought maybe I'm just not going to get on. Because like I keep trying to make Dragon Knights, for example. I made another one of those last week. I don't get on with Dragon Knights. I don't like them. Don't know what it is about them. Read the Grimoire. Is this something in my quest items? No. Gordon Bennett. Oh, is it this one? Uh-huh. God, you don't have to go very far away from the fire, do you? Where's the next fire? Hopefully it's over there. But I do, it's really weird, like I really love the game from a casual point of view, and you counterpoint it with like World of Warcraft. World of Warcraft, for me, has a superior end game. You know, I like the general way in which class, I know I've moaned enough about class design in the past, but compared to a lot of other MMOs, it's pretty good. And the way endgame is done, I think, is pretty good. I'm not saying perfect. But for casual play, World of Warcraft is not good. What does it want me to do now? It seems to be suggesting that I should be... Oh no, let's get this lit. Hi, Sane. I mean, just little things like this, you know, where you have to light the campfires to keep warm, and as you move away from them, you'll freeze, and it's affecting your health. It's just little things like that that are actually nice touches. And thank God I'm on a healer. Well, it's not a healer, but you know, a healing class. I thought I'd lit this one. Are they going out? They're going out, aren't they? Right. Where do I go next? Got to collect animal hide. And also, it's like, you know, when this, obviously this came out 6 years ago, but one of the things, not when it first came out, because it was pretty crap then, but certainly when the one, I don't actually know, because there was Tamriel Unlimited and one Tamriel, and I missed them both because I wasn't playing it, because I was so appalled when it first came out. But one thing that is impressive now is the fact that, you know, you are at level cap, but you still want to go out and just do quests, whereas in World of Warcraft, it very much got this feeling that questing was just something you did while you were leveling, and that was it. It was leveling content, and you had this very distinct difference between leveling content and endgame content. Whereas in ESO, it's not. You haven't got that difference. It's the same thing. Obviously, there are differences in terms of the difficulty of it. Perform the ritual. Right, do I have to do that over there? I don't seem to be dying here. Oh, is this where I've got to read the book again? Right, read the book. Light the candles in the following order: east, west, north, south. Oh dear. East, west. So by sheer coincidence I lit the right candle first. Right, let's just read that again to make sure I get the next bit right. Hide in the centre of the circle, take up the Animus Geode. Okay. I'm not convinced that was done in the right order, but never mind. As long as it works. Agree for casual play could quest for days in AS7 games like WoW. Really struggle to pay attention. Yeah. Well, I mean, pretty much the first thing I would do in getting to level cap in WoW is get rid of all my quests. I mean, they've tried to change it a bit. Obviously, Legion, they tried to change that, didn't they?
Why should I? We died to the dragger. Maggots take your tongue.
I mean, Suramar was quite a way to do that, because they created this zone that was effectively, you could only quest in there if you were at level cap, to try and change that mentality, but I don't think it really worked.
You presume you can defeat the massed dead.
And I think what helps in this as well is the fact that everything is scaled. So it just means you don't have to, you know, you can do all the, there's so many quests, and you can do them in whatever order you like, and you can mix and match.
You are doomed. My spirit is bound to your shield, yes. You can drag me from Aetherius.
Well, he doesn't sound like a friendly ghost. Right, back we go. Let's try that again. Oh, it's warm here for no adequately explored reason. Is there a book? Oh, that warmed me up. That's nice. Get back to the warm place. Except for raiding WoW, the endgame quests just feel like busy work. Yeah, ultimately everything in WoW does. That's the problem with it. It's because they just see it. I think they see almost all, not going to say all of the content, but almost all of the content just seems to be seen as something to keep people busy so that they stay subscribed. This is a mock-up of that thing in Bleak Rock Isle. Oh, I've got to do it in an order, have I? The right runestone has plumage. Oh, okay. Right, hold on a minute. Let's learn that the 3 runestones must all be set to different images. You've learned that the right runestone must be set to an image of a carving with plumage or feathers. Well, okay, well that's eagle, so that's fine. I've done that. Well, just trial and error then with the others, isn't it? Well, trial and error didn't seem to take very long. You like the crafting Bible? I do. I mean, that's the thing. So, I mean, I crafted myself. I didn't have enough bits to make them all yellow quality. But, you know, as soon as this was level 50, my other character who has all the crafting skills, you know, crafted him a nice set of gear. Unfortunately, I don't have enough traits on the jewellery just yet to be able to get 2 full sets, but I will do. What's that about? Why didn't that have a soul for me to use? And what's all that about? Have I ever played Skyrim? No, I haven't ever played any other Elder Scrolls game. I had a good friend of mine some years ago who was absolutely mad about Morrowind. But, you know, at the time I was playing World of Warcraft and I didn't really have time for other games, so he wasn't able to sell it to me. Even though I'd have trusted his judgment, there's a lot of games he's got me into that I've enjoyed. But World of Warcraft, you know, when I was raiding, it was impossible to play anything else. So, you know, I'd never played any Elder Scrolls games before this. Which might have been a good thing in many ways, because I know, obviously, whenever, you know, you make an MMO of something like that has been a single role-player game, fans of it are not always taken. I know there were some Elder Scrolls fans weren't that keen on the interpretation in this game. Go on, try and cast at me, I dare you. Hang on, how come it's not working? What the hell? Absolute rubbish, that. And I haven't really had a desire to go and play Skyrim since, because again, there's lots of games I want to play. Oh, what am I doing on that? That is something I keep getting unstuck at when I think I've changed weapon and I haven't, and I end up clicking a load of things that then don't make sense until I realise, oh, that's because I didn't actually change weapon. Hi, Elsu. It's going all right. I got myself to level cap yesterday, so I am now. Oh, for goodness sake! Oh, God. See, that's what I mean. I think I'm in one weapon. No, I'm not. I'm in another. All practice required. And then by the time I've practiced enough, I'll stop playing it and be playing something else. Except I do intend to be playing this now and then until Greymore, and then into Greymore I'll see what character I want to do that in. Oh dear, it's one of these jobs. Oh crap, where's the fire? Where fire? There is fire. Right. What am I supposed to do here? You're on the quest to have every item and do every quest, right? Yeah, you see, I'm not. I won't be thinking about that. Oh, God. Okay. That hurt. I don't usually get beaten up that badly. However, while we're here, my experience scroll has just run out.
You seek the shard. It gives understanding, power. Let us test your power.
Maybe I should have lit the campfires first. Should I light all the campfires before I do the next bit? But they do go out. Is it dynamic levels, as in scaled? If you mean scaled, yes. Every bit of content is scaled. In fact, one of the, key differences between, say, this and WoW is that... Oops, let's... In WoW, what I always say is must be a bit annoying for new players. I need to get over to that Sky Shard. Is that you look at all the adverts for the expansion, you look at all the cool features in it, assuming that they are cool features, and then as a new player, you go, "Oh, that's great. That sounds fantastic. I'm going to have some of that." Except you're not going to have some of that, because you can't do any of that content until you've leveled up. Because all of that content is endgame content. And yeah, sure, with the game you get a level boost, you can always do that, but then you've not learnt about the game. And you won't know what class you really want to play and stuff like that. So, in this, it actually tries to get you to do the latest content. So the latest expansion at the moment, for a couple of months, is elsewhere. So if you create a new character, it puts you in there. It says, "Oh, do this first," which I never do, because I think doing the main quest lines is better. But it nonetheless, it just puts you straight in. And you can choose where you want to go and what you want to do. I also like the way that factions play no part in PvE. Oh god, I'll fight all the way through this. So, you know, like in some MMOs, and it's quite common, of course, you might have a situation where you want to play a particular race or something like that. But you're also playing with friends or something. Oh, beggar. Right, have some vampire bats on your ass. And, you know, and you all agree to play a particular faction or something like that. And that means you don't get to play the race you want. Well, that's not the case in here. Zenimax seems to listen only to the PvP crowd. Again, you know, anything for serious players, I honestly don't know. As a casual player, I enjoy the PvP in this. Admittedly, it's a bit more fruitless when you're going in these days. It used to be a lot better when it first came out because it was a lot easier to find groups to join. Whereas now, probably what you need to be is part of a guild, I suppose. Right, I could actually die here because I don't actually know where I'm going. Can I just jump down here? Apparently I can. But obviously something like large-scale PvP is always really difficult to balance. And I have no concept of how things are for endgame for either PvE or PvP. Because I'm really just questing. That's just what I'm doing. Questing and crafting. Right, I didn't actually mean to do that quest. So let's get back onto what I did mean to do. Which is that delve. You're more against scaling than for it. I like the idea of seeing an area and thinking I can't wait to get stronger to go there. Well, I mean, you get stronger with the champion point system. The problem is, the flip side to that, is that you are, you know, you're in an area and you like the area and you're really enjoying the quests, and then all of a sudden you're out gearing them and they're too trivial, but you enjoy them. But you're not having any fun because it's too trivial. I mean, you don't expect it to be really tough. You want a little element of danger when you're just doing this solo stuff. Which is what we've got. I mean, I got killed there. Oh well. Ever played Black Desert Online? Yes, I have. Now, I really liked Black Desert Online, but I had to stop because you got to a certain level. Because I played it when it first came out for the UK. I hadn't played it before then when it was just on the Asian servers. And you get to a certain level and PvP is forced upon you. Now, I am not in the slightest bit interested in enforced PvP. I hate it. Which is why I like games like this. And it was the same with Warhammer Online. You know, you have your massive areas for PvP. And you have your different areas for PvE, and they're totally separate. And that I prefer. That's better. Whereas in BDO, I was really enjoying it, and I was approaching the level where I was going to start just getting ganked all the time. And I know they put in this mechanic that, you know, was supposed to reduce you from just being constantly griefed, but it didn't. It might stop the same person from mugging you, but it doesn't stop people in general from... I mean, you could get mugged by one person, and then someone else comes along and kills you, and it just never-ending process. But I did like it. If it weren't for that, you know... In fact, you know, it's funny you should say that, because I was just thinking to myself, maybe I would like to... I'd almost like to think that maybe I'll just get myself a new account, though, and not go on the old one, because I think it'll be pretty messy with all the workers and everything I'd set up, and maybe I'd just like to start it from fresh. But then I just keep thinking, but I'll probably enjoy it again, and you'll get to that sort of level. And it'll be absolutely vile. You know, I'll have to stop playing just when it's getting interesting. And I used to love all the going off in my caravan thing as well, trading, you know. There's so much you could do on, like, autopilot. But anyway, most people don't seem to play in Cyrodiil from what you see. Most of the PvP are doing Battlegrounds. Okay. Oh, that's interesting. I suppose, you know. I mean, when I think to Warhammer Online, when I played that, not, you know, I don't know, competitive. Seriously, I was in a guild where we used to do stuff each night. And, you know, we would, I suppose it was a different thing there, their sort of version of Cyrodiil. It's not quite the same. But we used to do, like, the Battlegrounds as well. I can't remember what they were actually called for Renown. You do a mixture of them. I suppose I can see the appeal to more focused bits of PvP for casual players. Oh, for goodness sake. WoW just wants everyone to be a raid, at least on LFI. Yeah, it does. The problem is, of course, that they don't... And I don't know whether it's just because the developers... You know, the chief developer, of course, was, you know, a very accomplished raider when he was a player. And I don't know whether it's because of that, or just because they can't be asked to come up with content for other people. But ultimately, in terms of competitive play... I mean, Mythic plus Dungeons were good. They were a good introduction. You can do that. But I'm not really sure it gives you, you know, what raiding does. And I think it's a very poor game for PvP. Which is my opinion, of course. Subjective. But I used to think, because WoW was my first ever MMO, and I used to just think that maybe MMOs are just really bad for PvP, because it was my only experience of it. And then I played Warhammer Online and thought, no, actually, you can make PvP fun in an MMO. This is how you do it. Liked it when just getting to the Lich King's throne was a nice feeling. See, ironic, I was not playing then actually, because I'd quit at the start of Wrath of the Lich King. I'm just wondering. I'm just wondering if I want to just change just for a little bit. If I can't be asked. Just randomly fire things off with my bow instead. No, that's rubbish. You'll have the raiding system in WoW that was in Wrath, where you could choose to make each boss hard. Yeah, well, yeah, what went wrong for me, I was talking about this actually in the WoW stream on Sunday, in Wrath, is I didn't know that was going to be a thing. Because in the first tier, Necromancer, literally, I was in a competitive guild at the time, well inside the top 100. And, so we leveled up, went into Necromancer, cleared the whole place straight away, cleared the other bosses quickly. And, you just think in that sort of scenario, is this what raiding's going to be? Because I didn't know that they were going to introduce these hard modes. All that there was the bosses on, and that was all there was to it. You kill them all in a night, and then do achievements. And I thought, no, that's rubbish. That is pants. And as I was saying at the time, so I quit the game. Now, had I known that they were going to bring out what they did bring out with Ulduar, I would have carried on playing. Am I going the... I don't actually know where I'm going. I'm just going to keep going round. Because I haven't found the boss for this delve yet. Yeah, the first good amount of time of Wrath, because, I didn't quit the game immediately. I said to the guild, I'll leave, when the next patch comes out, or the next raid comes out. I'm not doing this shit. And then what happened is they basically released what some people consider the finest raid tier ever. Yeah, that was good. And then I came back a couple of years later, and what did I come back for? Dragon Soul. What some people consider, although I won't agree, to be the worst raid tier ever, but I will agree it was a pretty bad one. Ah, at last, a boss. Right. Is this going to be a long way out of here? Oh, there's a chest. Now, my usual thing, if I'm in a delve where I'm nowhere near the exit, or it could be a lot of messing about to get out, I would normally just teleport to my snow globe home and then get a way shrine from there. But I don't think I discovered any way shrines in the rift yet. So this may actually be messing. It may be quicker. Might it be quicker for me to just leave normally? Oh, bugger. I'll just wander out. TOS word raid tier. Hang on for different... what would that be? Tomb of Sargeras. Oh, no. No. I mean, there were things in it that were not good. My main beef with Tomb of Sargeras, I suppose, is there were a few fights where you really needed very specific classes. Avatar being the worst of them. I mean, although it was one I didn't actually progress in, I would have argued that the old, whatever it was, the Colosseum thing in Wrath would be the worst. You might argue Ulduar maybe not the best. Who knows? I can't say because I didn't play it. So I will go with original Necromancer as my favourite raid tier ever. But I can go along with it. I can go along with the concept that maybe I would have considered Ulduar to be superior. But I strongly suspect I would have absolutely hated the... I don't know, I can't remember which one was the dungeon and which the raid, but the Trial of the Crusader type thing. Did I raid throw... Oh yeah, I did Throne of Thunder. Yeah, I raided all of Mop. So the bits I missed out for raiding were... Going the wrong way. So Ulduar onwards in Wrath. even though technically I came back as a bit of a casual, I was nonetheless not. Did I actually find the diamond? I must have done. I wasn't really raiding. And then I missed Cataclysm until Dragon Soul. So I missed, you know, the best part of both of those expansions for raiding. And then I raided everything right up until BFA. I didn't do any... I raid tested for BFA because I was in the alpha quite early and was in a raiding guild. But I haven't actually raided in BFA since it went live. Right, let's go and get some way shrines and then I will go and start to get the quests in this here zone. Ruby Sanctum Worship. Okay, well, when I talk about raids, I'll try and... I sort of subconsciously filter out. I haven't even done Ruby Sanctum, even as in coming back and just soloing it. Maybe I should, just for the hell of it. But I sort of mentally tune out single boss raids, 1 or 2 boss raids. You know, when I talk about raids, what I really mean is raid tiers, which raid tiers can sometimes be comprised of multiple raids. So I really you know. So I wouldn't have considered Ruby Sanctum. Right, I'll talk to him, but I want the book first. I'm sure it's a free man. Okay, maybe well, because honestly, I have no notion of it at all. Ruby Sanctum. I know, and I wonder why I never actually just went to do it, but I didn't.
You have the spirit of Isgramor, my friend. Yes, 2 blades are more dangerous than 1. Speak to Holgun.
But yeah, Throne of Thunder was a funny old raid for me. But the raid itself, objectively, I think was a good one. I think Mop was a very good expansion. You know, for me... Oh, hang on a minute. Did I have a choice of people and I've just chosen them? I think that's what's actually happened there. Never mind. I think that's probably what's happened. You thought the first and the last fight were pretty good, but you wasn't keen on the progress. No, see, I loved a lot of fights in it. I just had... Just for me personally, it was a bit difficult because the guild I started off in ended up being a very, very poor choice of guild. So I actually started it with one guild and finished it with another. But I thought the actual the raid was decent. In fact, I have on my channel a little ode to it because for a bit of fun, I created a video of a particular... You know, this was during progress. We hadn't cleared it. And it was actually still in that first guild that I was in. And I did one night. I recorded the fights. And then just did a video of them. It was like the first 6, I think it was. When we were sort of comfortably farming those. Just sped up to some music. I sometimes still watch that now. Because I quite enjoyed that. You know, sometimes when a raid tier is really enjoyable, I sometimes used to do something special. Which wasn't that often. Which is a bit of a shame, really. I regret that now. Nice bits of nostalgia sometimes when you do fun things like that. You haven't raided seriously since Wrath. You've done a few of the raids from Wadon, but you can't seem to find a good raiding guild. I mean, see, that would be another thing. So, at the time I stopped the raiding, it was purely because, at the time, work was just going to get much busier. And I knew I wasn't going to be able to do it. If it was just raiding like it used to be, like in WoD for example, then I wouldn't have had to quit raiding. It would have been fine. It was because I wasn't going to be able to do it and all the artifact grinding and all the rest of it. I was just not... You obviously have to prioritise work. I wasn't going to have time, and that was all there was to it. And I just joined a different raid guild as well. Really annoying. But... because I wish I'd stayed in the other one just as a casual. It was a much friendlier guild. Oh, hang on a minute. Someone's knocking me on my arse. However, you know, it could be argued... I don't like the fact they keep knocking me on my arse. Why do I just keep using my bow? I thought I'd changed. You know, I'm doing YouTube full time now and all the rest of it. Jesus Christ. Right, I'm really... they're not making any friends, these guys. Sorry. So, yeah, as full time... You know, you could argue maybe I could come back to raiding at some point. I'm not sure. It's not a given, but it's possible. But I won't. And there's a few reasons for that. Part of it is I feel like I've done WoW raiding now. I don't think it's different enough. You know, I don't think I'm going to get any extra, like, you know, different memories or anything like that, if you see what I mean. I feel it's just going to be more of the same. But what you've just said there about the good raid guilds, that's obviously also going to be an issue. The problem I have is, if I were to have gone back, is that... sorry, I keep breaking off because I am potentially trying to concentrate a little bit because I don't really know what I'm doing in this game. I feel that, you know, I've been in a competitive guild many years ago. As time's gone on, I've obviously been in less and less competitive guilds. Sometimes it's gone up, sometimes gone down. I'll never be in as competitive a guild as I used to be. I'm you know, wouldn't be a good enough player to do that, and certainly not playing Ret. It was like, you know, if I were to choose a much more in-demand class, then I reckon I would. But it's really weird because in a lot of MMOs, I don't get that much attachment to class. Like, there's some classes you quite like, but I can pretty much play anything in any game. Whereas in World of Warcraft, you know, I really like the Ret Paladin. And I just feel I don't want to play anything else. And of course, you know, I work for a game. So if I were to return, the fear would be that I would be in a guild where it would be beneath, like, my expected standards, which might be an unreasonable expectation. But nonetheless, I think that's what the situation would be. And I just don't think I'd enjoy it. Because I would have to accept I would not get into a very competitive guild anymore. I might even struggle to get into a cutting edge guild. And then at that point, absolutely, forget it. If I'm not even going to get cutting edge, all the wiping and the pain and all the rest of it is not worth it. So I don't even think about it anymore. Ret's looking solid in Shadows. It looks solid in BFA. It's not an issue of whether or not it looks solid. It's never going to be, just because of the nature of it, something that people can not live without. And also, it's not always to do with the class, it's to do with the encounter design. So you can have a class that's perfect. Like, Ret Paladin has been perfectly good in BFA, and it was perfectly good in WoD, and it's been perfectly good in a number of expansions. But then you get encounters designed that just go, right, what good is Ret for this? And it's like, yeah, it's not bringing anything. Whereas, and it's not that Rets are bad for those fights. They're fine. It's just that then you say, but if we bring rogues, then you get this, or if we bring a warrior, then we get this, or...
Will no one help us?
Is this another side quest? I'm hoping that it's the sort of thing that I can do. Oh crap. Pay attention. Thought they were on my side. That was actually, that's a funny thing in this game, just a little aside, that I think all new players must do, mustn't they? Is because it's not a targeting game, it's a much more modern, you know, system of well, not targeting. Is the number of times I tried to attack another player, because there is no material difference between the looks of them. Do I want to beat a giant up? Why don't we beat a giant up? Oh. As I seem to have a pocket healer at the moment, why not? But yeah, I see. I thought Rets were fine in BFA in terms of the way the class worked. It's fine. I like the improvements in Shadowlands. I think that makes it better. And yes, the utility coming back should put it in good stead for raiding. But what I'm trying to say is, in other cutting-edge guilds, you'll sometimes get a situation where, you know, you've got a rogue in a guild, and then someone else decent applies, and you go, oh, you know, 2 rogues is fine. We can use 2 rogues, or you can use sometimes 2 warriors. You don't ever want 2 rets. I'm not saying you can't do it with 2, but you don't. If you've got a ret, you've got a ret. Is how the attitude is. And the other problem is there are so many people play Ret Paladin because it's a very popular class. Is the competition is just huge. And yeah, like you say, you have to sit on some boss progress. Now, towards the end in Legion, I was sort of okay doing that. I never had before. Do you know what? I have left guilds for being sat in the past. Because as far as I'm concerned, I'm there to raid. And I know you always need some people to sit at, but the best guild I was ever in, and it was also the best progress guild I've ever been in, you know, they had a system where their, like, benchers, so to speak, were the people who specifically signed up for it. Because that's ideally what you want. You want your core, who are the ones who will turn up every time. You know, they're not... I've run out of bloody inventory. Can I get rid of something crap? Oh, I can learn that. That'll help. Right, now that does mean, however, that I need to get out of here. And get stuff sold. I should have done that when I went to the Way Shrine the first time, shouldn't I, really? How far am I from a Way Shrine here? Have I got... Oh, hang on a minute. I'm being stupid. Let's get a merchant out. Just sell a load of crap. And then dump some stuff in the bank if necessary. Right, and then we can get rid of you.
Anything I can do for you?
And then get the banker out. Our issue is Holy and Prot are also popular and utility is shared class-wide. Yeah, I mean, that's always been another issue as well, is sometimes when you've got, you know, Paladin utilities, Holy Paladins are really good and Prot Paladins are really good. So... I need to dismissed him then before I've actually deposited anything. Because this I really like, just dumping all my weapons and armour in the bank, and then I can get my... oh, the bank's full, bloody hell. And then my main crafting character can then just disenchant them from there, which is really fun. I need more inventory though. Maybe I'll just have to spend some crown coins on sorting that out. Am I about to come quite close to a waste right? That's actually really annoying. Oh well, never mind.
Excellent. The final hurdle we must set. Yorin the Skald King. Our best long ago. Voldam and Doran discovered a way to harness the power.
Yeah, it's in the new Crusader aura. It's all looking very nice, you know, I will confess. But again, you're just going to have the same problems that they just always will have. And it started, you know, in TBC as well. It was the same thing. You know, Ret Paladins had useful utility, but you only needed one Ret to get it. Any additional ones didn't give you anything extra, whereas additional rogues do. Sometimes additional warriors do. I'm not saying, you know, there are other melee DPS specs that don't suffer, like enhancement shamans do, feral druids do, you know, unless they're played by someone exceptional.
Stay beside me, friends. We face the cult together. We face the Skald King now first. Come and die on my blade.
Can't I just, like, just get stuck in? Got my vampire ability up. Just got 2 new mounts in WoW. I had one the other week, didn't I? I got the Horsey in Storm Song Valley. And I got the Hyena mount when BFA actually first came out, when I was levelling on Horde, so... But I think that's probably about it for BFA mounts. But I'm not really a big mount collector. I always go back to my old favourites anyway. You know, I used to quite like the mythic ones, the mythic mounts. I would ride those for a bit after getting those. Never leave the bookcases. Say the same thing about DPS warriors. You only need, because they don't bring anything to raid that prop warrior can't. I don't know, because you do tend to get away with it a bit more. Oh god. Actually, what I'm on about is about to give me a buff, isn't it? What am I worrying about? Because normally something like this you wouldn't dare solo. Well, I wouldn't anyway. Right then. WoW mounts your favourite part of WoW. I mean, things like that. See, I always said that what they need to do... Oh, sack. Is a lot more... For casuals, instead of forcing you to do things like artifact power grinding, what you need is more cosmetic rewards. You know, really embrace things that other MMOs do. Player housing and... You know, mounts and pets. And you know, WoW do that a bit, but I think they could do more for the people who do enjoy it. I mean, I don't. I'm not motivated by that. But some people are. I'm moderately motivated for transmog stuff.
I had help, my liege.
Your champions. We've met. A hard
Have I done the Harrowstorm dungeons? No, I've hardly done any dungeons in this game. Really, I mostly just quest. Occasionally, I sign up for a dungeon. The problem is that, you know, once you've effectively missed out on so much of the game, which by just flitting in and out I do and just questing, I get no feeling for what the game's like. So it's a bit like, I'm conscious in WoW, you know, if I go into a dungeon or something, I'm familiar with the terminology that people use and the general way to do stuff. I'm not in this game. I don't know how to carry out my role. I don't know what's expected of me. So sometimes I'll do the automatic sign up where you just basically follow a blur of action and no one really expects you to do anything, which is just as well because you don't get a chance to anyway. Oh, can't mount here. You're picking your next main base on the Shadowlands Transmog. Well, I'll tell you what, and I'm pretty sure this isn't the case. I can't ever speak definitively now because there's so much of BFA that I've obviously missed and not aware of. But the costumes for some of the cool Tyrans, like the leather coats and stuff like that, looked so good, and I was thinking, I wonder if they'd be available for players, and I'm not sure they are,
To tell the truth,
which is a terrible shame. Because it's difficult enough to look good in WoW as it is, because the whole art style isn't really, it's really not for me.
Speak with your Skull King.
And I know why they did it, but I don't agree. Whereas ESO, I absolutely love it. Sometimes I'll just go for a ride in ESO, I'll just go for a ride around because I really enjoy the scenery. Oh no. Where am I off to now? Can't quite see. I'll tell you what. Where's that way shrine? I don't suppose you can. I can't feed on a giant. Oh, because I don't really need to be a stage 4 vampire. I'm just going to feed. I did get myself the double Bloody Mara recipe on my main crafter, just in case I feel the need to go down a level. I don't actually know where I'm supposed to be going. What the hell? How does that make sense? Alright. Oh no, do you know what? I'm just going to go to my globe. You're leaning towards warrior. You did a random dungeon, got an emperor as the other DPS and was struggling to even compete. I mean, I wouldn't even know that I was competing or not because I've not got add-ons for damage or anything like that. I have no idea, and I'm certain I wouldn't compete with even moderates. Over the top look of WoW has always been a big negative for me. It was for me, and I know why they did it. The reason they did it was because Warcraft, and Warcraft 3 specifically, was so really popular, and they were just worried that World of Warcraft wouldn't be, and they just wanted it to look the same. They wanted you to feel that you would be inside Warcraft 3, and there was no need. There was absolutely no need for that. But anyway, it's a decision they made. I understand the decision, I just disagreed with it. But ESO, I love ESO. The actual art style. Right, where's the rift? Go there. You like the looks of Zandalaria's warriors. See, if I was doing a horde warrior, I would want it to be an orc, and not just a lore thing. I do think they, you know, I think they look better. There's Fighters Guild stuff there. Where's the Mages Guild stuff? Oops, hold on. Let's just have a look at that again. Where is Velast? Oh, it's there. I'll go and see what this is first. And then I might do the Mages Guild one. I do like Share Gorath. No, I'm going to do it now. I'm going to do the Mages Guild one now. Because I think it might be the last big one. Which means I suppose I need that way shrine. You were playing EverQuest 1 at the time, and the guild you were in moving to EverQuest 2, so you did 2. So yeah, I mean, WoW was my first one. I've not even since played any of the MMOs that came out before WoW. So every MMO I've ever played came out after WoW, and therefore was always in the shadow of WoW to a certain extent. Although I think this one has moved out of it, certainly. And, you know, part of what helped to do that, apart from the fact that although when it came out, it was really annoying because I was so looking forward to it from what I'd played in the beta. Absolutely loving it. But unfortunately, it didn't work. So many bugs. It wasn't fit for release. They knew it wasn't fit for release because although they released it on PC, they held it back on console. But obviously they corrected those problems and it's all marvellous now. But the other thing I think is just that it was nothing like WoW. There was no real reason to compare it to WoW even. It's the furthest thing from a WoW clone you could sort of imagine, I would think. First year of ESO was just one long beta test, yeah. I mean, I got to level cap, and then, of course, at the time, as you'll remember, it was the veteran system. That's what did it for me. I just thought, no. I mean, I'd struggled. I remember, I think it was East March. So, at the time, in order to go, you couldn't go from East March to the Rift, or something like that. You couldn't go to the next zone until you'd completed the main quest line. And there was a particular quest that was just bugged. The character you had to kill just wasn't appearing, and it was the same for a lot of people. Like some people it would appear for, and others it wouldn't. And you know, and so you waited around and you got through that and you got through that, and then you just think, you know, exactly the veteran system at the time was basically, I mean, it was bad for two reasons. First of all, it was basically, right, you've done all the questing for this faction, now go and do it for the other factions as well. You know, and then you know, it was good that you could do that, but to be then told, but it's gonna be a lot harder for you to solo, because the idea was, I suppose, to try and encourage you to group up, because it was a lot tougher. It was actually bloody hard. It was for me anyway. It was certainly harder to solo it. Oops, wrong way. So I just thought, you know what? What am I doing this for? No, forget it. And because I wasn't playing it, because I was still playing WoW at the time, because I wasn't playing it properly enough to join a guild and do all that sort of stuff. Although I did join a bit of a casual guild, I suppose. But they were so casual they didn't do anything. I just thought, no, we're leaving this. We're not doing this. Oh, I'll get books later. Unless I come near them. You're also locking at 90% of the map until you finish your main faction story. Well, yeah, I see. I had a couple of things when I had to sort of go back. So, Stonefall's like the first major zone for the Ebonheart Pact, which is what my characters have sort of always been. So I did the main quest there, and I did other quests that I came across. But
Oh, I was sent for you.
oh, all right.
I've been sent to ask the priest. Ah, damn it.
Why is he going to follow me? Okay. So I went then to Deshan, the next zone. And then I was part way through it, or I would say a good halfway through it. And I was suddenly finding it quite tough. I was having major difficulties in dealing with it. You know. And I thought to myself, I could do with an extra level or two here. And I tried to do some dungeons. And I did one dungeon, but it took bloody ages. Because we were wiping a lot. And that's fine, that was good. But then I tried doing another dungeon, and the group I was in gave up really easily. So that disbanded. And then I tried another one, and they never even made it to the dungeon. Because some people were struggling. You didn't teleport to or anything like that. Some people were struggling to find it and just got bored. And in the end, I just got sick of it. Because, you know, the dungeons were challenging. They weren't, you know, if you stuck with it, they were alright. But people just, you know,
It's not as bad as it looks.
just,
Is it?
what am I supposed to do to rescue them? Put out fires, burn corpses. Collect a bucket near a well. Alright. I don't see how that's going to help me rescue anyone though. Got sick of rep grinding from BC and Wrath. I see, for me, rep should be something that comes with the content you're doing. I'm not really seeing fires. But anyway, let's just sort stuff out. I've rescued a pig. Okay. That doesn't seem to be giving me any credit. But yeah, so the idea of having to do...
For freeing me.
I mean, Wrath didn't have a bad system because, you know, for some... You could put on your tabard, couldn't you, for particular, and decide which reps you're going to do it. I mean, that sort of thing I quite liked because it's like saying, right, I want to concentrate on this rep, but I want to do this content. So you put on a thing that says, I'm collecting this rep while I'm doing this content. That sort of system I'd be totally on board with, because then you're still having to spend time building the rep up, but you get to do it doing the content you want to do. Now, if they had something like that in WoW, then I would never complain about rep grinding, because I'm perfectly happy with the idea of spending time to build up your reps. Just not having to do content that bores me shitless. And if it was a rep, you know, attached to the content you're doing, and I didn't like it doing it, then I wouldn't care about the rep either. So I burn some things and set fire to others. And put others out, rather. But anyway. Putting a major feature of your game, flying behind a massive rep ground, completely stupid. Yes, I mean, that's... Yeah. I've not... I mean, that's why I still don't have flying in Shadow... in BFA, sorry. I suppose I will at some point. But really just for completeness at the moment. Is that a book over there? Oh no, it's probably a thieves' trove. Oh no, it's just... It's kitties. But like I say, if you could... If to gather rep you just had to spend time, I think it would be fine. And what I would do, let's say Najata rep for example, then what I would do is do your introductory quests. I'm fully on board with that. You know, you've got an introductory quest line for the rep that will get you a certain amount of rep as well. No problem, do that. But then after that, it allows you, when you got to like friendly or something, then you get your tabard. And then whatever content you do in the game that would award you like experience, say, you can get rep for that faction, you know. And then you just go and do what you want. You know, you can get it raiding, you can get it doing dungeons, you can get it doing quests in other zones. You could do it getting quests in that one, doesn't matter. You know, you're getting your rep. And you're doing something that doesn't bore you rigid.
Thank you for freeing me.
Do you know what? You've just given me an idea. I'm going to do a video on that because yeah, that's what I would do. Because then it's a bit like saying to Blizzard, thanks very much for this content. That's nice. I don't actually enjoy this bit of content, so I'm going to do this other bit of content that I do enjoy.
You'll find shelter.
And you just... I don't understand why they deliberately put things in that are going to piss their customers off, because those customers are going to stop playing. They know this. And as I say, this game, I'm not saying it's perfect, you know, but, and again, I'm sure it's easier for me to be less critical of it because I'm playing it as a casual player and it's a bloody good game for a casual player. Right, I'm going to get this sky shard. I'll keep being distracted and not going to the major skill. So I'm going to get this sky shard. I think I need to empty bags. And in order to do that, I am going to have to go on my other character briefly. And just deconstruct a load of that gear I just dumped into it. And then dump a load more in. So that's what I'm going to do first. But anyway, you talk about, you know, they shouldn't have added like flying into the game if they didn't want it in. I think, to be fair, I wouldn't blame Hazakostas for that. So here's someone, and I would agree with him, here's someone who is of the mind that flying has a net detrimental effect in the game. Now, I would agree with that. I think it would have been better had it not been in. But his solution was to get rid of it. Now, this was folly. Because that doesn't work. Because the genie's out the bottle. Now, it's not his fault that flying became such a major feature of the game, because it happened while he wasn't even working at Blizzard. He was a player. So, yeah. So, I don't have that attitude because it's different people. So, some people who thought it would be great to have flying, and I can see why, are not the same people who are now looking at it and going, do you know what? It's actually caused a right pain in the ass. But I certainly agree that although in theory the Pathfinder... Have I got my thing today? Although Pathfinder is in theory... yes, I have. A nice compromise. Having too much of this rep grind for the second part, I agree, is too much. It should have been a much smaller element. Or, like I say, they should have said...
What business brings you?
Oh God, I really did need to. What they should have done was to have said, hang on a minute. No. Right, let me just, I'm going to log out. I'm going to deconstruct a load of stuff, log back on this, put some more stuff in the bank, deconstruct that, and get back on. He was still making Zullerman videos back then. I didn't actually watch any of his stuff, but yes, he was certainly playing back then, yes. Anyway. But that's, I mean, that is the situation. The genie is out of the bottle. You can't get rid of flying. I agree that it's not great. I am also happy with the notion of starting off an expansion without flying and that you bring it in later on. That's fine. I'm okay with that. But again, try and reduce the tedium with doing so. I mean, you're already making it difficult for people to you know, or time consuming by making it impossible to get flying until the second major content patch. Now why aren't I thought there were more rings and necks than that. That's interesting. System and BC and Wrath was perfect for flying, hit max level, load of gold, boom, you're flying. No, I agree with the, personally I agree with the developers on this. The arguments are that when you get flying immediately and getting it at the end of leveling is basically immediately, then you don't have interest in landscapes, because why would the designers design lots of interesting stuff in the scenery when you're going to bypass it all? And you know, and I go with that thinking. So the idea of forcing you to do several months without it, I'm fine with. Especially as we've now moved to a situation where they want you to actively quest at level cap as well. You know, if you can just, it's quite nice if you have to work out a way to get something, because there's an exploration element there that's lacking. I have to be very careful not to delete things that I have crafted and put in the bank for alts, because I'm a bit of a bugger for that. Oops, we've got even more stuff. What's happening? Alright, let's do that again. Is that it? I think that's it now. 90% of the player base didn't have 10k gold enough to hit an 8. A lot of people would though. There might be some. I don't know about percentage. I mean, when you talk about percentages, quite a lot of the player base don't actually even get to level cap. They're a bit like me in Star Wars The Old Republic. I have never got a character to level cap. As in the latest expansion's worth of cap. Unfortunately, my research has still got how many days? That one are just over 3 days. Oh no, that's 5 days. Right, it's 3 more days and a bit before I can research anything else. Right, so the bank should be relatively quiet now, so I'll go over to the other one, dump a load more stuff in, and back. But anyway, I can't remember what it cost. All I remember is I was not exactly a gold farmer, and the furthest thing from it. I only ever used to farm gold when I needed it and for what I needed, and then that was it. And I always had enough. Obviously, I was never a new player in each expansion. I had my gold stores from before. I didn't really spend a lot. But anyway. Oh, when you're saying, yeah, in WoD, yes, in WoD they did actually try to delete flying forever. Yes, I'm aware of that. Well, they said as much. They actually said flying is not going to be back in the game. At the start of WoD, they didn't. At the start of WoD, they said, we'll see. They weren't promising anything. And then they said, no, it's not back in. And then there was a massive backlash. And within a week, they were saying, oh, yeah, okay. And then they tried denying that they'd ever said it was not going to be in the game. Bit of a pointless lie, really. Right, while I'm at it, I can disenchant those glyphs. And they did have to fix all the zones to make it happen, yes. It's not something that they could just turn on. And it was a bit annoying in some ways because, you know, it just showed what can happen when there's a big enough backlash. And I kept thinking to myself, so why don't we have a big backlash against all the other shit they pull? But there it is. Right. I need to be 25 for that. But yeah, I mean, WoD, even if you didn't know, I mean, you know, we did if we were following things. WoD was not designed for, it was designed specifically so that flying would not be a thing. Right, so at last we're going to go to the Mages Guild. Like making flying open to all of the old zoning kata was where they went wrong. I would say keeping it after TBC. They could have just stopped with TBC. Now I'm not saying that would have been straightforward, because then a lot of people might have said, I really like flying and I've collected all these flying mounts and now I can't use them in the new expansion, which would have been Wrath of the Lich King. So I'm not going to definitively say they could definitely have stopped flying then and there. It could be argued, maybe, there shouldn't have been flying at all. But given that there was, if you wanted it to be just one expansion, you should have just said that. But as soon as it was, as far as I'm concerned, as soon as it was also in Wrath, it became a staple feature of the game. Now, they made zones in Wrath you could only get around by flying. No, you could get around, you know, like if you take Storm Peaks for example, you quested in there before you got flying, and there were other ways to get around. They made it so that flying was a lot more convenient. Oh, you could do Storm Peaks. I did Storm Peaks without flying. There were things in there to get you around the place. Ice Crown, not so sure, because I didn't really do a lot of that while I was leveling. But again, that didn't have to be like that. They could have done what they did with Storm Peaks, and they could have designed it so that you didn't need flying. I mean, I suppose you would have needed flying there to get to the airships and stuff like that, yeah. But that was because they knew flying was going to be in. Didn't have to be. If they'd have made the decision flying's not going to be in the game, they'd have redesigned the zones. And they wouldn't have had to have changed the scale of the zones. They'd have just had to give you other ways to get around it. Someone flew you to Thorin's place. Like, I did Storm Peaks as leveling content. I leveled it. I didn't have flying when I was leveling.
The ebb and swell of Magicka. Ah, we've done it. We're finally ready to take back my island.
Or did we? Or did we get flying before level cap?
I'll use the combined power. It's a lush.
Anyway, they didn't have to. They didn't need flying in it. Well, from a practical point of view, they didn't need flying in it. You know, maybe the community would have gone mad if they hadn't put flying in. I don't know. You got flight 77. I was actually thinking that because I'm now remembering the quest in Shalazar Basin. But there were things in Storm Peaks you could do without flying. Even the high places, there were ways to get to it. Like all that stuff with the cave and the Yeti and the giants and stuff like that, the storm giants. You could do that. You could definitely do that without it.
Follow me.
Right then.
Damn me for a fool. Why did I trust that madman? What do you mean? Look at this place. The island is overrun with Daedra. Sheogorath has given us the apple, but it's riddled with worms. There's a grand hall in the center of the island. We'll be able to survey the situation better from that vantage point. You and Velost make your way up this path. I'll meet you there.
Fascinating creatures, Daedra.
Have I got any actual food I could be taking? Not really a good one for doing that. No, never mind.
Never thought I'd have the chance to study one of those up close.
Hang on a minute. Why don't I have the way shrine? What's up with me? You wish they would go back and do some of the raids they skipped. Oh. Oh, like Gundra, stuff like that. Okay. Maybe it only completes when I complete the quest. I don't know. I mean, in terms of raid decisions, I was really appalled when they got rid of like the Naxxramas, the actual Naxxramas, because there's so much cool stuff in there. And what particular? I mean, it was something I wasn't happy with in the first place.
Another way varieties of Daedra is wrong.
But when you consider that then they replaced it with that pathetic shell of the tier 7. What are you doing here? Then that was just a kick in the balls when you're already down.
Remember who you're talking to. Our mortal friend has arrived. Be quiet now, Shally. Adults talking. Ah, good. You and I can have reasonable conversations. Shalador is just too old and crotchety. You know, funny thing about demons. They're really the sorts of things you should get in writing. I said if you completed the trials, you could find the island. The portals to deepest oblivion scattered here and there. A sort of bonus. If you want to see it that way, sure. It's another trial. I'm sure you and Velas... Oh, hello, dearie. I'm sure you'll have no problems closing the portals. Honestly, I'm surprised the mistress of Incunabula didn't see this coming. No reason at all. What did you imply? That my choice to curse the books was a calculated move? That crazy old Sheogorath knew there were only...
Just hope they don't copy over people from Classic, otherwise we're becoming... Well, I'm not... The only reason I was even a little interested in the classic WoW, although I argued for its inclusion for ages for people who do like it, was purely because there's things in the game, in classic WoW, that are no longer in retail version. They've completely obliterated it. Now, although the nature of TBC has changed, the content is still there. So I'm fine with that. I'd have no temptation in redoing TBC. I did it all. I raided it all. It was a very nice expansion, but I did do it all at the time. I don't need to do it again.
Damn it. What was I thinking? Attacking. Wait, Adept. You're not making sense. What do you mean? Sheogorath put that curse on those books to slow us down. The task more time-consuming. The curse was meant to put the books in front of the lost. She was meant to read them. This is very worrying. We need to deal with this after the island.
Now this quest, I have to say, although I really like this quest line, I think Sheogorath's a great character, I am disappointed
Close the portals. I will see this done.
in the way it has to end. Because you sort of get a choice at the end of this as to what you're going to do. You know, it's a real choice, not like the choices you get in WoW. However, the reward for one choice is way better than the reward for the other. And whenever that happens, it's one of my main gripes with the end of Baldur's Gate 2 as well. You know, one decision is always right at the end is more profitable than another, in which case there's a good little loot whore. Well, it's not so much loot, it's power whore. I make my decision not based on what I think my character would do, although to be fair, this Necromancer might well decide to do what will give you the better rewards anyway. You end up going with the better rewards. But I did feel conflicted on my Templar making that decision, because it shouldn't really have happened. Oh, I should have checked this out, shouldn't I? Get that vampire thing up quick. Anyway, just a shame raiding was so boring on rotation. Well, you see, I was for quite a lot of it a healer, so at that point, healing, it doesn't matter, you know, how anything's designed. Healing is always much more interesting because you're not just up against the mechanics, which are scripted and would have been, of course, relatively benign. Well, not so much benign as more straightforward for a lot of WoW, although a lot of people do describe WoW Classic or WoW Vanilla as being more simple than it was because they were basing it off Molten Core and to a lesser extent Blackwing Lair, and they're people who didn't really do Anchorage or Naxxramas. But certainly, but as healing, you're not just up against the mechanics, you're also up against your own guild mates effectively, or your raid mates at least. And which is why I always used to get bored with healing once progress was over. For progress it was brilliant because there was a nice little challenge. In fact, there was a natural challenge to healing, and then there was the challenge I used to introduce when I was a guild officer. The natural challenge to healing is keeping people alive beyond the point at which you can reasonably be expected to. Because obviously, the longer you can keep the raid alive, the more the raid's going to learn, and you progress quicker. And that was really good. I used to love that. However, and the other challenge was, in the event of a wipe, I used to organise the paladins to make sure a gnome, which all the warlocks were gnomes, paid their dues. because they used to go in hellfire and try and get out of repair bills. This was not happening on my watch. But yeah, as soon as progress was over, people used to take less damage and, you know, and healing. It's like, ah. Oh. You would end up just doing little bits of damage just because it was so boring. And trash could be boring as well. The only thing I see that will prevent Blizz adding TBC servers is them saying it's too much work and money adding for just for TBC. I don't think they will say that because it won't be. You know, because all the arguments, the main thing will be the arguments they used for not bringing in Classic WoW for so long, in that they won't be able to please everyone. And if we're going to be honest, I haven't followed it too closely, but it seems, and I didn't doubt them at the time, that that's pretty much right. You know, there were a load of people who complained about the particular implementation of it because there were lots of people wanting particular features in, and there were people not wanting those same features in.
That was terrible. Let's go get into a real fight now.
Oops. So they might use the same thing for TBC. But I don't know. I'm not really following it. I mean, for all I know, they might have already announced they're doing a TBC one, haven't they? I don't think they have. They saw from Classic how much money it makes them. Well, as long as they can keep people interested, because it hasn't really been properly tested yet, WoW Classic. The real test is what is its longevity. Now, I think it will have a reasonable amount for a reasonable number of people, because we know that there are people who have played vanilla WoW on private servers for many years quite happily. But will the sheer number of people that have been getting into it, you know, we still don't know if it's a novelty that will wear off or not after time. You still see this current Blizzard a bunch of money-hungry dicks. I don't think the Blizzard are the money-hungry ones, but ultimately they are controlled by people who are. At the end of the day, as soon as you allow your company to be bought out and it's all the shareholders controlling things, then that's what happens. So, you know, their first priority is to shareholders. That's ultimately the way it works. And if we're honest, if they hadn't have taken that route, we may never have got World of Warcraft in the first place. You just sort of have to accept it.
Hear him. I'm coming, Uncle Shale.
Blizzard sent out Q&A to people on Battle.net asking how they would like TBC leveling to be done. Okay. Oh, well, there you go then. They would still do well to string it out, though. I wouldn't be bringing it out anytime soon. Because ultimately, it's going to be the same people who are after the WoW Classic, isn't it?
Ah, my favourite mortal. Shanador finally figured out how to let you in. You're here to kick me out, I know.
Yeah, 2 years away, something like that, maybe.
Very good, sir. Have at you, adept. We will now face each other in honorable combat. On your guard.
going to relinquish the island to us or not?
All right, settle down. I'll just gather me things and go. Blast! Dearie, why don't you come over here?
Uncle Sheo, are we going somewhere?
Yes, little one. You're coming with me. Home to the Shivering Isles. Won't that be nice?
Mad God, stay back! The lost isn't yours to take!
Isn't she though? I can see it on her face. I can smell it in the air. She's crazy. A lunatic. All that time with Uncle Shield's stories, and she's got the urge to visit the Isles. My Shivering Isles.
I do. I want to go with Uncle Sheo. He's got the butterfly.
After all the promising that they wouldn't. Well, there's all sorts of things they promised. They promised, for example, that it'd be a completely different, a small development team for Classic WoW, and that the retail developers wouldn't be messing about with it, and yet they did.
Why don't we let you decide? Should Velas stay or come with me?
See, this is where I have to decide. Now, as the Necromancer, frankly, I don't give a shit. My Templar knew...
You decide she stays and cure her. That's right. Uncle Sheo will make her sane again. Boring old Velas, whose only friends are books. Oh, dear.
And if the adept decides she goes with you?
Well, as it happens, I have one more book here. I give it to you in exchange for Velast. It's called the Folium Discognitum.
Sheogorath, you bastard! You'd throw the folium back in my face after all these years!
Wrote it myself. It's a delightful little artifact. It imbues the reader with the knowledge of madmen. It's very powerful. Worth, 4 or 5 of those sky shard things you adventurers are always looking for. So, the last stays, and I...
So basically, I will get more skill points if I let him take for last. Which is basically what I'm going to do. But on the Necromancer, I mean, basically, I'm a Necromancer vampire. I have no morals. I'm fine with that. But the Templar was seriously conflicted.
Uncle Sheo wants to take me to the Shivering Isles. So wonderful. The butterflies, they'll be everywhere. And he has so many books. But Uncle Sheo, he will keep me warm and he will keep me safe and I'll have so many friends to play with. Books are my friends, did you know? Adept, if I stay, I don't know if... But perhaps with him, I'll be happy.
Adept, you cannot listen to this offer. This is the exact same offer Sheogorath made me when I first lost Ivea. Life for an archmage is measured in decades, not years. The rituals I performed extended my life, allowed me to continue my work. But eventually even I began to slow down. I began work on a powerful artifact, a key to the inner workings of life itself. Glamouril. But that's neither here nor there. The point is, I reached a critical juncture where even my knowledge and power failed me. I needed more. Yes, I'd read all of the Accords of Madness. I knew the lessons of King Lyrandir, Leopold Arseno, Darius Shano, and still I failed. Don't make the mistakes we did, Adept. Reject this madman's offer.
Yeah, you see, the thing is, though...
You're surprised, aren't you? Of course, of course. What can I tell you? Just so you know, as you talk, I'm going to imagine there's a little person inside you, moving your mouth like a bubble. Well, see, if you sit a madman down and listen to him ramble, he'll sometimes spout the most brilliant insights. I don't know if you know this, but I spend a lot of time around that. Aye, and there's some right insightful insights there. You read through my folium and
See a Nord mage, well, yeah.
worth the power and zip of half a dozen sky shards.
Because that's the thing, as you know, races in this game. I mean, I, you know, as I say, I've not played other Elder Scrolls games, but you certainly get racials in this one are really powerful in this game. You really don't feel like...
Not this time. Look, no matter what choice you make, Shalador's always going to know I got inside his head. Again. That's what I'm trading you the island for.
But,
This is just something between the two of us.
yeah, you really don't feel like you want to choose the wrong race for the wrong role.
Right! A mortal making a decision! Free will and agency! I knew it!
What the hell?
Here you go, mortal! Now don't go around saying the mortals decided to let Velast go with me. Velast, dearie, come on over. You're coming with Uncle Sheo.
Yay! The butterflies! I love to watch them flutter.
Squawk again. Please don't.
Got loads of skill points out of that.
No, don't worry, she's in good hands. And this is where I say my farewells. Mortal, nice working with you. Shalador, never change. Say goodbye, dearie.
Goodbye! I'll miss you!
Until next time, magelings!
I can't stay in here, Adept. Let us speak some more outside. Come here. Adept, you've done so much. I thought you were the guild's future. But I cannot ignore the choice you made concerning Velast's fate. I would give you a gift. A gift. And during my time on Tamriel, I developed a very useful spell. A memory charm of sorts. Rather than wasting my
Notice
time
how very
running
anti-magic the
around
people who
library
chose to get that
trying
path are
find
generally
it.
shunned in Skyrim.
Spell
Well,
allows me to recall
no problem,
instantly.
because it doesn't seem to be in Skyrim. And I am a necromancer. I am the most shunned of the shunned. It's actually quite funny, because obviously the necromancer was only added to the game recently. And yet, when you go through some of the major quest lines and, you know, you get little things like warnings, there's necromancers about. And I'm thinking, yes, I am one.
Just need a moment to prepare. This spell has proven very handy. Once saved my life when I came up against a rhyming spirit. She demanded every answer to her questions be answered with a couplet. There we go. I'm ready. Call it Shore's Bones. I can't thank you enough. In time, the body you and Velast have formed for me will fade. But with this charm, you'll never forget our... Then accept the gift of eidetic memory. Remember now every tome, every book, every scrap of paper you have ever read.
Right, okay. I assume that means we're done there. Necromancer, yeah, Necromancer shunned in Tamriel. You would sort of guess so anyway, even if I didn't know much about the lore. What was I going to do? Oh yeah. I mean, I don't actually have any immediate use for those skills. There's probably some there I should get at some point. Just leave them until I've got a burning desire to get another one. But more skill points is always better than fewer. But yeah, I really don't see how there's any choice at all there. You are, of course, going to take the better reward. And the game knows you will. Let's do a little bit of this for about the last 10 minutes.
Yuri, look out!
Alright, someone seems to be shouting. Bookcases first there before we go and investigate that.
Who in the nine holds are you? And what are you doing in my shaw's bones? I was ready to murder you. Some bastard just tried to kill my niece. He's a damned skeever. Go ahead, but avoid the entrails.
What's this?
Whole thing. Denser used to make a... Never mind.
No. Don't hurt me.
Alright then. The Mage Guild in particular go out of their way to make sure Necromancers are hunted down and killed. Well, they made a very poor choice in this case then, didn't they? Utterly incapable of even recognising a Necromancer vampire. I can't imagine they're too happy about vampires either, by the way. Or do they not care about vampires?
Are you a Jarl? This again? If you want to waste... If you're going to... Who says I don't?
Huh. Talk to a homeless citizen.
Don't suppose you've got a few coins to spare? Of course. No, sure, take them.
What's all this about?
Is it gone? I think so. It happened so fast.
Oh, you cheeky monkey. Oh, hang on. Oh no, I think I'm alright with that. I keep forgetting sometimes there's some abilities I can't use as a Necromancer around town, is there? Otherwise people will be upset with me. Vampires are hunted down by everyone brave enough to do so, but the Mage Guild don't go out their way like they do for Necromancers. Okay. Oh, for goodness sake. Oh, this is the Fighters Guild. Hang on. I'm not doing that yet. I've only got 5 minutes. We'll do that another time. Well, I'll do that another time. I do actually have, I just recently got a couple of books that go through some of the lore specifically about Elder Scrolls Online that I'll get around to reading at some point.
I like animals better than people. A zombie? Oh,
Have you
I like animals better.
Right, she's not being very helpful. It's an order called the Order of Stendar. Yeah, I've come across that one. Haunts vampires and Daedra. Well, that's pretty bad, isn't it then? Because Merrick for the Fighters Guild seems to be an acolyte of Stendar, and he trusts me, and I'm a Necromancer and a vampire. So, do you know what? They're actually really awful, because I don't see how they're going to be very effective at hunting the likes of me down if they can't even recognise me. I suppose one of the little things you have to glance aside when you're dealing with an MMO. There's a book around here somewhere. There it is. Search the smithy for clues. Oh. Overlooked for to be a so-called evil class, yeah. We're obviously just particularly skilled at hiding our nature, even though I've got very pale skin and bright red eyes. But I suppose some things do have bright red eyes. I am a dark elf.
We've had the dead searching for the shards of Wuthran, and we found one.
Oh, must be searching the docks. I think I could use vampire abilities though, without getting a criminal record. Well, fat lot of good they were doing. I'll get back off now. Blah, blah, blah. What is that teleport? I do, yeah, I mean, I don't think it's supposed to be a particularly competitive ability or you know, recommended ability, but I quite like it when it works, because it's got two advantages as well. So on both of my bars, I've got on my number one an ability that can interrupt spellcasting from range, but then you've also got, I don't know which is which now. Hold on. Yeah, with that one you can also use it a second time and actually teleport to them, which is good. Oh, good in, yeah, I suppose it would be handy in PvP. I also find it handy if something's up on something. I also quite like it. I just think it's a bit characterful, because again, I'm a casual player, I can just play things for character. And as a vampire, it's just like the, imagining the scenario of just being able to teleport towards something. Now, I'm going to leave it for now for the question. Going to get myself back to Davon's Watch, which is the place I always like to end up with. And we'll end that there. I did have a bit of a fright today because YouTube have started getting serious about taking away my classic studio, which is the only thing I'm able to stream on. I've tried streaming on the new one, it's not working. I will endeavour to keep trying. But they'd taken it away, so I didn't think I was going to be able to get on the stream tonight. And then when you go onto the new studio, it does let you, there's a little back door to the old classic one. So as long as that remains, then I will be back on Sunday with some WoW leveling again, as they seem to be keeping the experience buff live. And then hopefully back on next Tuesday with some more of this. Hopefully still on this character, because as I say, I do intend to keep on this character for a little bit before going on to another one. Have I been to Elden Root? Not really, no. I've been there and done a little bit and not very much. Not on this character, but even on other characters, I haven't done a lot. I really haven't done a lot. I've flitted about quite a lot. But anyway, I'm going to call it there for tonight. I'll get off. So thanks for coming on, everyone. So I'll be back, as I say, Sunday for WoW, and hopefully again next Tuesday for this. So have a good evening, everyone. And I'll